Good morning. Today is Sunday, the 24th day of Elul. We begin today chapter 17 of Igeret HaKodesh in the Tanya. This chapter once again talks about the Mitzvah of tzedakah, charity, and it gives one more angle, very interesting one, of the power of tzedakah. And we're going to be talking also about Tchiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead, the difference between the resurrection of the dead and the world to come. Very interesting chapter. So, let's begin. You know, in Chassidus, they talk about the idea of arousal de l'sata and arousal de l'ela, which means an arousal from below that brings about an arousal from above. When God created the world in the beginning, He gave everything, He created everything without anything asking from us to do to bring it about. But once He created the world, He wants that everything, what we achieve, everything that we get, we should do it on ourselves. We should do something on our side. It says, "Pischuli pischoi shel machad v'ani eftach lachem pitcho shel ulam." You open up for me, Hashem asks, a tiny, tiny little hole, a crack of the door, and I will open up a full door that opens up and doesn't close. There's the famous story of one of the Tanaic sages that had a very heavy stone that he wanted to bring to the Holy Temple. And he couldn't carry it, and he asked Hashem for help. And sure enough, God sent him 5 angels. They should come and help him out with carrying the stone. And they said, "We're ready to do it, but we want you to put your finger on the stone." And when he did put the finger, all of a sudden, he found himself in Jerusalem with the stone. The idea of the putting the finger is the idea of you should put your effort, that you should put your effort into the stone, into the carrying. And when you do your effort, when you do your part, Hashem gives you so much more. So here, this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about in this chapter 17. Let's look inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, Noida, it is known, the beisarusa de l'sata, in response to an arousal from below, she'odam me'oire beliboy, midas hachesed, v'rachmanus, when a person arouses in his heart an attribute of kindness, loving kindness, and compassion. Al kol hatzrichim l'rachmin, for all those who need compassion, are in need of compassion. When a person arouses this within him, isarusa de le'ela, this brings about an arousal from above, le'oirer olav rachamim rabi mimoker arachmim, to arouse great compassion from the source of compassion. What does it mean, great compassion? What is the source of compassion? Great compassion is a limited amount of compassion. The source of compassion is the unlimited amount of compassion. We know we started last night the slichas, asking Hashem's forgiveness. And in the slichas, we're saying the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, which is the 13 principles of compassion, measures of compassion. This is something that Hashem, God, gave to Moshe Rabbeinu, to Moses. When Moses asked on behalf he prayed for the Jewish people, and he asked Hashem, please save them because of the merits of the fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So Hashem said to him, you're asking me on the merits of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? What's going to be when those merits are exhausted? So Hashem told him, don't worry. I'm going to teach you something, that there is a source of compassion, which is something which is above the merits of our patriarchs. And this is something which is unlimited compassion, and that the Jew is connected with Hashem in this level. And when a person awakes himself, when he creates, when he finds in his heart to be compassionate towards others who are in need, that in turn awakes by Hashem this source of compassion. And he explains, "Le'ashpia lo yapeiros ba'olam hazeh ve'akeren lo'olam haba." And this will make to endow the person with fruits in this world, and the principle remains intact for the world to come. What does that mean? What is this world and what is the world to come? Normally, we are familiar with the concept that this world is this physical world. The world to come is the world after passing on from this world. But here is talking about a different world to come. The world of after the soul departs from this physical world, here it includes it in this world. And we'll soon explain why. The world to come, it refers to the world of Tchiyat HaMetim, when the resurrection of the dead. And he says that the fruits is in this world, that the fruits that we get from Hashem is in this world, and the principle remains to the world to come. What is the difference between fruits and a principle? Let's take, for example, by a tree. You have the tree, the tree itself is the principle, and the fruits every year, it brings fruit, it produces fruits. So the fruits that is produced from the tree is not always the same. We have a fig tree in the backyard. Some years we have beautiful, delicious fruits. Some years it's not so much. Some years it doesn't grow at all. So the fruits is something that has changed. The principle remains. The tree always remains. So when we're talking about this world, things is certainly changing. You don't know what's going to be today. You don't know what's going to be tomorrow. But even in the world to come, meaning what we call the world to come in Gan Eden, this is called Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, the world that the soul goes after we depart. That also is not like a principle that doesn't change, because there is changes. There's different souls receive different levels, and this is something that we constantly grow. There's certain tzaddikim who have one type of light. It says in the world to come, it says that Hashem makes for the tzaddikim a special canopy of light, and the tzaddikim are burned from each other. Why? Because every tzaddik has his particular light. Whatever he accomplished in this world, he has it in the world to come, in the Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. But that's not the principle. The principle is the very essence of the mitzvah itself that a person did, and that remains for the world to come, which is the world of Tchiyat HaMetim, the world that is going to be after the resurrection of the dead. That is something which stays forever. And it says the Alter Rebbe that this fruits, Pirush explains, when we're talking about the fruit that comes from above, this is the flow of benevolence which is bestowed from the source of compassion, and the fountainhead of life, blessed be He. And this flow of benevolence, this flow of blessings, is drawn downwards to the lowest level. B'chinas ishtalshelus ha'olamos milemala lemata chulu. And this is in a pattern of evolution of the worlds from above to downwards and so on. Ad shemislabesh ba'olam hazeh agashmi, until it vests itself in this physical world. Bebane chayem zoyne v'chulu. And this is talking about having children, having good health, having good parnasa. All of this is included in the fruits, that the blessings that comes from the fruits of the blessing of Hashem. However, but the principle, in order to understand what is the principle, the Alter Rebbe brings a verse in the Tehillim in chapter 119 that we say, Rechava mitzvascha me'oid, that your commandment, mitzvascha, is very wide. And this verse, Alter Rebbe says, is very strange. What does it mean? The mitzvahs is wide. It's very unusual way to describe mitzvahs, that it's wide. What does it mean it's wide? Also, it says mitzvascha in its singular form. It says your mitzvah. It doesn't say your mitzvot, your mitzvot, your commandments. It says your commandment is wide. So that's number one, the Alter Rebbe asks. It should have said, mitzvaysecha lashon rabim. It should say, your commandments in plural are many. Is wide, are wide. Vegam, another question, lashon rechava in a movement. The term wide is also puzzling. Hello. So the Alter Rebbe explains, what is this verse saying? Rechava mitzvascha, your mitzvah. We're saying to Hashem, God, your mitzvah is very wide. What is God's mitzvah? There's one mitzvah that we can refer that this is God's mitzvah. Ela mitzvascha daika, God's mitzvah. In mitzvahs tzedakah. The choice of the singular form, your commandment, it alludes to the mitzvah of tzedakah. Why? Shehi mitzvahs Hashem mamash. Because this mitzvah is truly God's mitzvah. Why? Because that's exactly what God is doing constantly. Everything what God is doing is charity. He's giving and giving and giving. Whatever God does, the Holy One, blessed be He, always constantly does, to animate the worlds. Then He will do so in the future with exceeding magnitude and intensity. And as it says, V'shamru derech Hashem laseis tzedakah. As it is written, likewise, that they shall observe the path of God to do tzedakah. Which means, here we're saying, what is the path of Hashem? Doing tzedakah. And he explains, Kemoi derech she'oilchim bo me'ir la'ir. Just like a path. What is a path? What is a pathway? Is something that leads you from one city to another city. Al derech mashal, for example. Kach hatzedakah hi b'chinas gilui ve'aoras oir ein soiv baruch hu soiv kol almin. So too, the charity is a manifestation of and a radiation of the Ein Sof light, which is encompassing the world. Sheyoyev ve'izgale, that it should shine and should be revealed ad olam hazeh, until this physical world, beisarusa de lasata. How is it done? By in response to an arousal from below. Betoiras tzedakah v'chesed chinam. And this is in a way of kindness and doing it chesed chinam, meaning a kindness which is not something that you expect something for. So la'asi b'tchiyas hamesim. And when the future and the world to come in tchiyas hamesim, this will be the ultimate revelation. Be'yeser se'ez ve'yeser oz le'ein kates, and the revelation that will be in the tchiyas hamesim, but in the time of the resurrection of the dead, will be the magnitude of this, and the force will be so much greater. Le'ein kates in b'chinas gilui ha'ora, the Gan Eden atachten elyon. It will be so much more than the revelation of that the tzaddikim have in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, in heaven, in the lower Gan Eden and the higher Gan Eden. When Mashiach comes, when it will be the resurrection, will be much greater level of godly revelation. And the Alter Rebbe brings logical proof for that. How do we know? Imagine you're talking about tzaddikim, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe Rabbeinu. They're all there for thousands of years in Gan Eden. And obviously they're growing from level to get closer and get more and more godly revelation in heaven. And yet we're saying, wait a second, that in this world, when Mashiach will come, will be the resurrection of the dead, will be a greater level. How do I know that? Says the Alter Rebbe, very simple. She'arei kol neshamas hatzadikim v'atanoim v'neviim sheim ato began Eden elyon berum hamayla, is because since all of the souls of the tzaddikim, the tanoim, the prophets, the Tanaic sages, the prophets, all of them that are now in the higher level of Gan Eden, berum hamayla, to the peak of all levels, what will they do? Islapshu begufeiseim la'asid. They will be enclosed in their bodies, in their physical bodies. Ve'yokumu bizman atchiyah, and they will rise in the time of the resurrection. Lehenos miziva shchina, to enjoy the glory of the Shechina, of Hashem's presence, the splendor of the Shechina. So obviously, if they will come from there to here, there is a reason for them to come, because it's going to be a greater level of revelation. Why? Because all of the lights, all of the revelations that takes place in Gan Eden, in heaven, the Garden of Eden, this comes from the place which is called, from the level that is called Memalekal Almin, which is the light of Hashem that permeates all the worlds. And this is a light of Hashem that is limited, and it is based on the accomplishment of the people, of the neshamas. Based on their accomplishment, they get a godly revelation. And yes, it grows greater and greater. However, it is limited. Which is this diminishment of the life force is an evolving progression from level to level, al yedei tzimtzumim rabim, by way of contractions. Ukemay marazal, and as our sages tell us, it says beyud nivra ha'olam haba, that the world to come was created from the yud. A yud, the letter yud, shows indicates of a contracted. It's a point, a single point. Everything is contracted to the single point. That's the letter yud. This signifies the level of the supernal chokhmah, supernal wisdom. It is the beginning of the higher worlds, and that is called Eden Ha'elyon. It is called the supernal level of Eden, the Eden which is the level in heaven. And this evolves and becomes vested in all of the worlds, as it says, Kulam bechachma osiso. All of it, all of the worlds, God, you have created, you have made them with chachma, with wisdom. That means this is the source of all of the worlds. And there's another verse that says, Ve'achachma techaya geimer, and the chachma animates. Ubegan Eden, and in Gan Eden, this is the level, the revelation to each and every person, each and every one, based on his measure, according to his measure. Kanoida, And it is known, the pleasure, the delight that the souls have in Gan Eden is all based on what they accomplish in studying the Torah in this world. It derives from the apprehension of the secrets of the Torah they engaged in this world in a revealed way. As it is known, it says in the Holy Zohar, in the portion of Shalach, and is also not. It says also in the Gemara, in the Talmud, it says a story. Be'uvda the Rabbi Bar Nachmani. It is a story of Rabbi, the son of Nachmani. There, the Talmud tells us the story, very mystical story, but it's a story about this. There was a debate in heaven about a certain things, whether it's pure or not pure, and there was the whole heavenly court. They said not pure, and Hashem said pure, and they said that who is going to rule? We need Rabbi, the son of Nachmani. He's going to be ruling. Why? Because he, in this world, he was then alive. But in this world, it says he was the one who was studious. He was the one who was an expert in this area. So that's why they summoned his soul to come up to Gan Eden and to give the ruling. And he came up and he said, Toher, Toher. And that's how his soul departed from this world with the words Toher, Toher, which means pure, pure. It's a whole very interesting story. No time for this to go in today. But in any case, the point is that whatever the person studies in this world, in the Torah, the innovation that it brings in the Torah, this brings about the godly revelation, which comes as a result from the studying of this Torah. That is in Gan Eden. That is in heaven. Aval. So it's all limited in a sense. Aval giloi ha'oreh shebetchias hamesim. But the revelation, the radiation of the light, which will be in the time of the resurrection, it will be from such a level which is encompassing the world. Something which is not limited. That is why, being that it's such a light, Hashem is able to bring it even into a physical body, because he's not limited by physical limitations, whether to say that the physical body is not able to contain this. I know it's a concept which is needs explanation more, but we're going to just say the point today. This type of light is a total unlimited level of light, without any limitations whatsoever. As it says in the first part of the Tanya called the Likutei Amorim, chapter 48, Biur Inyan Sovev Kol Almin, there he explains the idea, what it means, the Sovev Kol Almin, the light of Hashem, which encompasses the world. It is not to be understood literally, that is an encompass, a roundish light that comes heaven for friend. What it means, encompassing, it is a light that is so powerful that it does not invest itself into the vessels. Note there carefully. So this is the end of today's shir, and this is something we'll continue Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. We'll explain the idea more of what is the special light that comes by the resurrection. So please join us again tomorrow, and we can discuss. If you have any questions now, we can discuss. And all the best. And once again, as we always do, we're going to sound the shofar. So if in case you didn't hear the shofar, at least virtually. Tziva v'chasima teva adut